Hello everyone and welcome to Arglefumph Talk. I have received a couple of religious questions, so I thought I would answer them in this video. Before I start the video, I should state that I am a Roman Catholic, which has prompted question number 1. What do I think of Pope Francis? Pope Francis has been the Pope for 6 months now, and his papacy really reminds me of some advice I once received from Father John, one of my former bosses. Father John said that whenever a priest is assigned to a new parish, he should not change anything for the first 6 months, except for his clothing. Pope Francis has basically been following this advice. He's been floating along, and he has not really made any major changes. The major changes are coming next month. So far, there are 2 major changes that have been announced. Number 1, there is going to be a new Secretary of State for the Vatican. And number 2, Pope Francis is going to be meeting with G8. I like to call this group Pope Francis and the Reform Crew. Pope Francis and the Cardinals are getting together, and their stated purpose is to reform the Roman Curia. Now, I haven't been to Rome. I have no idea what's going on in Rome. I'm told that there's too much bureaucracy, things move slowly, and you've got some people who are selfish and they're looking out for their own best interest rather than worrying about the concerns of other people. So, Pope Francis and the Reform Crew are basically going to be reforming the Curia, fixing up the bureaucracy over in Rome, which I think is fantastic. I have a feeling they're going to do a bit more than that. I think they're going to be making some broad changes, not just in Rome, but around the world. I think they are going to be doing some worldwide stuff to fix the church everywhere, not just specifically the church in Pope Francis's diocese. Am I excited for that? Yes, I'm super excited for that. I'm also a little bit worried as to how the media will take Pope Francis's reforms. Pope Francis has been popular with the media so far. I have a feeling that once he starts introducing his broad changes, the media is going to be less happy with him. They're going to be less excited once they learn that, yes, Pope Francis is Catholic. So, basically, I am waiting with bated breath for everything that's going to happen next month. It's going to be a very exciting time for the church. Question number 2, I have my list here. Somebody wanted to know about the books which are in the Catholic Bible, but not in Protestant Bibles. These books are also not in Jewish Bibles. The Old Testament books, which are in the Catholic Bible, are the book of Tobit, Judith, Wisdom, Sirach, Baroque, 1 and 2 Maccabees. So Tobit is a book about a father and a son. That's the one with the Archangel Raphael, I think. Judith, I haven't read it. Wisdom is a fantastic book. I love it. Chapter number 3 from Wisdom is what I want to be read at my funeral when I die. The selection which goes, the souls of the just are in the hands of God. They seemed in the view of the foolish to be dead, and their passing away from us was thought in utter destruction. So on and so forth. I really like that reading. I want that at my funeral. I like the Book of Wisdom. The Book of Sirach also is a fantastic book. I'm told that I like it because I'm Irish, and Irish people just love the heck out of this book. The Book of Sirach and the Gospel of John are huge favorites with the Irish people. In fact, the Irish nickname for the book was Ecclesiasticus, not to be confused with Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiasticus, which is Latin, it basically means church book, or the book we read in church all the time. So, before they had like a set lectionary, the people in Ireland would just read that particular book over and over and over again and sort of ignore the other ones a little bit. It's a nice book. It's basically a grandfather who's writing to his grandchildren at the end of his life and giving them a bunch of advice on how to live a good life and how to be a good person. It's really good. Baruch is one of the minor prophets, which means he did not write as much as the major prophets. Minor doesn't mean he's less important, it means he didn't write as much. 1 and 2 Maccabees, those are historical books. One of them is useful because it talks about purgatory, so it's useful for people who are defending the faith and talking about purgatory. They're also interesting because they're historical books. They're about the Maccabean revolt, which took place in the Middle East. after Alexander the Great conquered it in, when was it, 300 BC or so. So these are historical books. The books contain the Hanukkah story, which is interesting. It's interesting because the Hanukkah story is in the Catholic Bible, but it's not in the Jewish Bible, which brings me to part 2 of the question, why aren't these books in all the Bibles? Why are these books only in the Catholic Bibles? The reason is that we don't have copies of these books in Hebrew. We have the Greek translations of these books. So the Jewish people decided not to include those books in their Bible because they don't have the Hebrew original versions anymore. In the 1940s, when the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered, they found the Hebrew original versions of Tobit, Sirach, and Baroque, so that was good. But basically, that's the reason why those books are in the Catholic Bible and not in other Bibles. We were okay with accepting the Greek translations of those books. The other people only wanted to work from Hebrew originals. And the final question is about when I was teaching 4th grade. I taught 4th grade for, well, basically just 1 year. And I gave this project to the 4th graders. It was basically a coloring book for Christmas. The 4th graders had to color in these pictures, and we put them up in the church in a special area to show what the 4th graders are doing. And it was all very nice. Here are the pictures. This is the Annunciation. The first 4 pictures are all of the Annunciation, actually. Most of these pictures were copies of famous paintings by other people. I basically took the paintings and then I drew them out myself using a pen and some paper. This is the Visitation, Mary visiting her cousin Elizabeth. This is Mary singing the Magnificat. This is St. Joseph having the vision in his dream. This is the Holy Family not being able to find room at the inn. This is the birth of Christ. These are the shepherds being told about the birth of Christ. These are the shepherds visiting the Christ child. These are the 3 kings visiting the baby Jesus. This is the flight into Egypt. And this is Jesus, Mary, and Joseph playing with the Christ child in Egypt. So that was a fun little project I decided to have my 4th grade class do when I was teaching religious education. Those are all the questions for today. So thank you for watching, and if you have any more questions, feel free to leave them as comments to this video.